double acute accent %, organic Karen and ND truth has proved most costly, but I believe that the result will produce an effect upon the mind of the reader which will more than justify the expenditure. Work upon the text of this volume was begun the first day of January, 1926, and has continued almost uninterruptedly for over 2 years. The greater part of the research work, however, was carried on prior to the writing of the manuscript. The collection of reference material was begun in 1921, and 3 years later the plans for the book took definite form. For the sake of clarity, all footnotes were eliminated, the various quotations and references to other authors being embodied in the text in their logical order. The bibliography is appended primarily to assist those interested in selecting for future study the most authoritative and important items dealing with philosophy and symbolism. To make readily accessible the abstruse information contained in the book, an elaborate topical cross-index is included. I make no claim for either the infallibility or the originality of any statement herein contained. I have studied the fragmentary writings of the ancients sufficiently to realize that dogmatic utterances concerning their tenets are worse than foolhardy. Traditionalism is the curse of modern philosophy, particularly that of the European schools. While many of the statements contained in this treatise may appear at first wildly fantastic, I have sincerely endeavored to refrain from haphazard metaphysical speculation, presenting the material as far as possible in the spirit rather than the letter of the original authors. By assuming responsibility only for the mistakes which may appear herein, I hope to escape the accusation of plagiarism which has been directed against nearly every writer on the subject of mystical philosophy. Having no particularism of my own to promulgate, I have not attempted to twist the original writings to substantiate preconceived notions, nor have I distorted doctrines in any effort to reconcile the irreconcilable differences present in the various systems of religio philosophic thought. The entire theory of the book is diametrically opposed to the modern method of thinking, for it is concerned with subjects openly ridiculed by the sophists of the 20th century. Its true purpose is to introduce the mind of the reader to a hypothesis of living wholly beyond the pale of materialistic theology, philosophy, or science. The mass of abstruse material between its covers is not susceptible to perfect organization, but so far as possible related topics have been grouped together. Rich as the English language is in media of expression, it is curiously lacking in terms suitable to the conveyance of abstract philosophical premises. A certain intuitive grasp of the subtler meanings concealed within groups of inadequate words is necessary therefore to an understanding of the ancient mystery teachings. Although the majority of the items in the bibliography are in my own library, I wish to acknowledge gratefully the assistance rendered by the public libraries of San Francisco and Los Angeles, the libraries of the Scottish Rite in San Francisco and Los Angeles, the libraries of the University of California in Berkeley and Los Angeles, the Mechanics Library in San Francisco, and the Crotona Theosophical Library at Ojai, California. Special recognition for their help is also due to the following persons: Mrs. Max Heindel, Mrs. Alice Palmer Henderson, Mr. Ernest Dawson and staff, Mr. John Howell, Mr. Paul Elder, Mr. Philip Watson Hackett, and Mr. John R. Ruxdell. Single books were lent by other persons and organizations, to whom thanks are also given. The matter of translation was the greatest single task in the research work incident to the preparation of this volume. The necessary German translations, which required nearly 3 years, were generously undertaken by Mr. Alfred Berry, who declined all remuneration for his labor. The Latin, Italian, French, and Spanish translations were made by Professor Homer P. Earle. The Hebrew text was edited by Rabbi Jacob M. Alko. Miscellaneous short translations and checking also were done by various individuals. The editorial work was under the supervision of Dr. C. B. Rowlingson, through whose able efforts literary order was often brought out of literary chaos. Special recognition is also due the services rendered by Mr. Robert B. Tummins, of the staff of H.S. Crocker Company, Incorporated, to whom were assigned the technical difficulties of fitting the text matter into its allotted space. For much of the literary charm of the work I am also indebted to Mr. M. Saxton, to whom the entire manuscript was first dictated and to whom was also entrusted the preparation of the index. The splendid efforts of Mr. J. Augustus Knapp, the illustrator, have resulted in a series of color plates which add materially to the beauty and completeness of the work. The printing of the book was in the hands of Mr. Frederick E. Keast, of H.S. Crocker Company, Incorporated, whose great personal interest in the volume has been manifested by an untiring effort to improve the quality thereof through the gracious cooperation of Dr. John Henry Nash, the foremost designer of printing on the American continent. The book appears in a unique and appropriate form, embodying the finest elements of the printer's craft. An increase in the number of plates and also a finer quality of workmanship than was first contemplated have been made possible by Mr. C. Benson, of the Los Angeles Engraving Company, who entered heart and soul into the production of this volume. The pre-publication sale of this book has been without known precedent in book history. The subscription list for the first edition of 550 copies was entirely closed a year before the manuscript was placed in the printer's hands. The second, or King Solomon, edition, consisting of 550 copies, and the third, or Theosophical, edition, consisting of 200 copies, were sold before the finished volume was received from the printer. For so ambitious a production, this constitutes a unique achievement. The credit for this extraordinary sales program belongs to Mrs. Maud F. Gallagher, who had as her ideal not to sell the book in the commercial sense of the word but to place it in the hands of those particularly interested in the subject matter it contains. Valuable assistance in this respect was also rendered by numerous friends who had attended my lectures and who without compensation undertook and successfully accomplished the distribution of the book. In conclusion, the author wishes to acknowledge gratefully his indebtedness to each one of the hundreds of subscribers through whose advance payments the publication of this folio was made possible. To undertake the enormous expense involved was entirely beyond his individual means, and those who invested in the volume had no assurance of its production and no security other than their faith in the integrity of the writer. I sincerely hope that each reader will profit from the perusal of this book, even as I have profited from the writing of it. The years of labor and thought expended upon it have meant much to me. The research work discovered to me many great truths. The writing of it discovered to me the laws of order and patience. The printing of it discovered to me new wonders of the arts and crafts. And the whole enterprise has discovered to me a multitude of friends whom otherwise I might never have known. And so, in the words of John Bunyan, I penned it down, until at last it came to be, for length and breadth, the bigness which you see. Manly P. Hall, Los Angeles, California. May 28, 1928. This book is dedicated to the rational soul of the world. Table of Contents. Dedication. Preface. Color plates. Illustrations in the text. Introduction. The ancient mysteries and secret societies which have influenced modern Masonic symbolism. Ancient systems of education. Celsus concerning the Christians. Knowledge necessary to right living. The Druidic mysteries of Britain and Gaul. The rites of Mithras. The Mithraic and Christian mysteries contrasted. The ancient mysteries and secret societies. Part 2. The Gnostic mysteries. Simon Magus and Basilides, Abraxas. The Gnostic concept of deity. The mysteries of Serapis. Labyrinth symbolism. The Odinic, or Gothic, mysteries. The ancient mysteries and secret societies. Part 3. The Eleusinian mysteries. The lesser rites. The greater rites. The Orphic mysteries. The Bacchic mysteries. The Dionysiac mysteries. Atlantis and the gods of antiquity. Plato's Atlantis in the light of modern science. The myth of the dying god. The rite of Tammuz and Ishtar. The mysteries of Otis and Adonis. The rites of Sabazius. The Kebalic mysteries of Samothrace. The life and writings of Thoth Hermes. Trismegistus. Suppositions concerning identity of Hermes. The mutilated Hermetic fragments. The Book of Thought, Poimandres. The vision of Hermes. The mystery of universal mind. The seven governors of the world. The initiation of the pyramid. The opening of the Great Pyramid by Caliph Mamun. The passageways and chambers of the Great Pyramid. The riddle of the Sphinx. The pyramid mysteries. The secret of the pyramid coffer. The dwelling place of the hidden god. Isis, the virgin of the world. The birthdays of the gods. The murder of Osiris. The Hermetic Isis. The symbols peculiar to Isis. The troubadours. The mummification of the dead. The sun, a universal deity. The solar trinity. Christianity and the